Welcome to the Classroom Hip Hop 101 Summer School Series, where we will review all of the highlights of this year, our first season of the Classroom Hip Hop 101 with Dr. Blizzy. So, teachers, as you're resting, as you're relaxing, take some time out to also feed your mind this summer with information that will empower you to go into the next school year rejuvenated, excited, and informed, and ready to go. So in the summer school series, what we will be doing is we will be highlighting some of the guests that we had on our show this season, and we will, just give you a review of some of the topics that we covered. So some of the things that we addressed this year in terms of the Classroom Hip Hop 101 was that we addressed issues like mass school shootings. We talked about bullying, school violence. We talked about parent engagement. These were some of the themes that we covered this year. I had an opportunity to introduce you to some talented DJs. We had DJ TODD, who's also known as Dr. Todd Craig. He's an associate professor at Medgar Evers College. We also had DJ Arrington, my former student, who's now a female DJ tearing up the music industry. They came on, they blessed us with some sets, and we had a great time, and we loved their involvement. Also, we had DJ Cool KG. So these were the guest DJs that we had. DJ Cool KG later on would come on and become our musical director of our show. So we look forward to you, listening. Please, you can also go to tnhhp.com, go to the video on demand section, and see a library of videos that will, I think, help you. You can use this for your own personal and professional development, and we're going to see what the year was about. So check this out. I have to say this. This is very interesting because this speaks to hip hop. He's also a Harvard graduate. He's also a professor at Medgar Evers College, and he's also Dr. Todd Craig. So that just shows you the evolution of hip hop. And he's straight out of Queensbridge and Ravenswood, and we brought him here today because of one of our guests. So I want to introduce DJ TODD. What's going on, my brother?
What's good? What's the word, Sean?
Hey, man, I'm glad to have you here. If we could, just before we get into the current events, can you just tell me a little bit about your upbringing in Queensbridge and how you went all the way to Harvard and what you do now as a college professor? Because you do some interesting things on a college level with hip hop.
Right. So originally, I was living with my family in Queensbridge. When I was about maybe 2 or 3 years old, my mom moved us to Ravenswood. So anybody who knows that kind of strip, it's like a 4-block difference between Queensbridge and Ravenswood. She moved us to Ravenswood because she was trying to get us out of a certain situation. So I grew up in Ravenswood, but then my cousin and his family wound up moving to Queensbridge. And so what I would do is I would spend a lot of time running up and down 21st Street, that 4 blocks. My mother would say, stay out of Queensbridge. So as a child, we ran over to Queensbridge. Went to junior high school 204s, right in the hood. Made some decisions that I thought that, the circumstances I was seeing educationally, I just wanted to see something different. Wound up taking the SSAT, wound up getting accepted to this program called The Better Chance. ABC connected me with some private schools, so I wound up going to St. George's School in Newport, Rhode Island. That took me to Williams College. Williams College took me to Harvard Graduate School of Education. And then Harvard Graduate School of Education took me to St. John's, where I got my doctorate.
Hey.
Oh, now there you go. Okay, now we're in effect. So let's go back. You were talking about the uniforms, wearing the uniforms, and your experience as a student. And tell us how that has shaped what you do now.
It's crazy because I actually turned out to be a DJ, right? One thing I remember the most is the actual video shoot, which, after I was new to the school when we did the shoot, and after that I felt so much closer. And I actually ran into some friends lately. We were actually discussing how how it made us feel like the school, like we weren't just a number in the school. It made us feel connected. Everybody was involved in the video. So it was great. Time to shine at 109.
Ice 109's about to shine.
John, he's a friend of mine, but I can't wait his clothes up to 109. You gotta check the clock, 'cause now it's time. And Ice 109's about to shine.
You said you like the way we do it right here.
Right here.
The legendary DJ Kool KG. And I want you to check out this program that he does every year at Public School 59 in Brooklyn.
Good morning. Here 59, DJ Kool KG and the 1 and 2s. Welcome back. Everybody coming in, boys. Beautiful day out here. I love it, I love it. Look at everybody coming in. There they go. Look at all them kids. Hey. Yeah, it's a beautiful day out here, y'all.
And getting them excited about school. Tell me about how that whole program came together.
Well, it started with my friend Craig Williams from Brooklyn. He's part of a group called the Seal Breakers, and that's the school they went to as a kid. So he called me one morning and said he had an idea with the principal, which is Sherry Ann Hillslop, I must say her name right, and Amy Victoria. And we all sat down and we talked about it. Said we want to have some music for the kids to welcome them back to school.
Yes.
And once we did that, the kids were coming down the block. We were very excited. They couldn't believe that there was a DJ playing music to welcome them back to school. So it's been going on now 3 years, my 3rd year. And last year, somebody sent a clip to News 12. So every time News 12 mentioned the first day of school, we saw me in the background and Pier 59, which is located on Troop Avenue.
So tell me, how do the students and the parents and the teachers respond?
The students and parents are very excited. People driving by, taking their phones out, they're filming it. The kids are happy. They're looking at me. They're looking at their mom and dad, looking at the teacher, the parent coordinator, the principal outside, welcoming the kids back. I'm giving the kids, I'm making them feel good. I'm telling the parents, thank you for bringing your kids back. You had a great summer. I'm telling the parents, you did a great job. And they love it. Every year they look forward to it. And we have Congressman Carnegie. He's out there every year.
Okay.
He supports us. Shout out to him. I just love seeing the kids happy. It feels good to have the kids see something different every year to come back to it,
It reminds me so much of, and I always try to link the connection between hip hop and education. And historically, people don't understand that one of the things that gave birth to hip hop was that DJ Kool Herc would do back to school jams.
Yeah.
To get everybody excited about school. So there's like this relationship that is very rarely explored has existed from the very beginning. In our second episode, I introduced you to Cassandra Jackson, a phenomenal educator out of Roosevelt, Long Island, who runs an alternative education program and is changing the lives of the children who are in her program. In fact, not only is she an educational leader, she's also a hip-hop artist. She is a member of Sons of Berserk. She goes by the name of Half Pint, so she's a phenomenal MC. Matter of fact, I think in our episode, she gives us some bars, and it was just very rewarding to talk to her and hear her perspective. Later on, she would become our show's producer. So check out this interview with Cassandra Jackson. Educator Cassandra Jackson, but let me hear that beat. Cassandra Jackson Middleton, okay, let's be clear, is an educator, recording artist, and revolutionary in training.
Wow.
She has been in the trenches teaching at-risk students in the classroom for 21 years, as well as the administrator of the Alternative Learning Academy at Roosevelt High School that runs in the evenings. She's been doing that for 9 years. She is known as Half Pint of the 90s cult classic hip-hop group Son of Berserk. Featuring No Self Control, their debut release was Berserk, Berserk, Berserk. Produced by the legendary Bomb Squad, all right?
Shout out to Bomb Squad.
Bomb Squad, all right now. As the only female in the group, she is one of the only female MC hype chicks in hip hop, hailing from Freeport,
Fort Knox all day, every day. Where y'all at?
Freeport, New York. She was signed to MCA Soul with the group at the age of 17.
Wow.
All right, 17. And as she entered into her sophomore year in college,
God bless her.
she listen to this, Cool KG. She played basketball in college while maintaining her grades and touring the U.S. and Europe with her group, Sons of Berserk, featuring No Self Control, well thought out, produced by the legendary Johnny Juice Rosado in 2010.
Johnny Juice.
That's my dude. Shout out to Johnny
That's my
Juice.
big brother.
All right, we got some real hip hop history here.
Boys Nasty with turntables.
All right.
Absolutely, absolutely.
In 2012, they toured with other classic hip hop artists on the Hip Hop God Classic Review Tour. This group has an upcoming collaboration project to be released spring 2008. 2018. Yeah, 18 is 80. I'm so 2008. 2018. Cassandra was the co-host of the Ja and Pint Show, a hip-hop internet show which was featured on Chuck D's. Shout out to the legendary Chuck D. Public Enemy's RapStation.com. She also served as a guest panelist on Chuck D's acclaimed radio show, And You Don't Stop. She's an activist and a member of the Hip Hop for Justice Coalition. We're gonna get into that. As a member of this movement, she's utilized her experience in education in hip hop to create a curriculum to support the Hip Hop University, an internet course on the history and preservation of hip hop. Both movements emerged from I Am Mario Woods movement. Her educational philosophy is rooted in supporting and educating the whole child emotionally, socially, and academically. Her goal is to empower children with the tools to become self-reliant, self-sufficient, civic-minded, and productive community members. Infusing character education through hip-hop, she is an edutainer who uses her experience, talent, and passion for learning to connect with her students. Her motto is each one, teach one, get yours, go back, and reach one. So we started our show with two phenomenal black educators, black men who are making a difference in the lives of our children. That was Principal George Patterson of Maya 11 in Brooklyn, New York, East Flatbush, and Principal Jamal Bowman of the Casa Middle School. They gave us our marching orders. They talked about the effects of black men in the lives of children in terms of education. They talked about their experience being black men in leadership position within the New York City Department of Education. The show was phenomenal. Check this out. The perceived lack of support on the part of urban school principals for these crucial community building activities has resulted in a high turnover rate in the principal position. Anyone to respond?
Yeah, I'll take that. I agree. 100% correct. We do get judged on how we perform on state exams. And to me, at times, that can be misleading because for many of our communities, we know how kids are going to perform on these state exams. I mean, the research has been done. So you basically know which neighborhoods are going to perform well and which aren't. So in terms of that social capital is, I think, what you're referring to, creating relationships, creating trust with the community, bonding with your students. Look at you. Look who you have here. It is so significant, and it's so not all the time respected. I've seen principals with doctorates from Teachers College who no longer, and you know who I'm talking about, who no longer works for the DOE, who put barbershops in schools, was building beauty salons in schools. I mean, doing everything for the community, was taking the kids who were coming home from jail, wanted those kids, didn't run from those kids, welcomed those kids. I'm going to give you a school. And this principal, to make a long and short, it wasn't that simple, but was kind of removed because your test scores didn't match up. This guy was a legend in the community, supported by everyone, all the politicians, all the bigwigs, and it's no longer working for the
Black people are the only people in this country's history that came here in chains. We are not descendants of immigrants. That is not our narrative. Our narrative is one as descendants of slaves. As a result of that, the historical trauma that is passed down from generation to generation impacts how Black people perform in our current school system. So if we're not dealing with the trauma, we're not serious about educating Black people.
In episode 3, we had the legendary hip-hop artist Roxanne Shante, who actually gave us an exclusive that she was going to have a Netflix deal, which later became Roxanne's biopic, Life is a Battle. She came on with Dr. Tahira Chase Dupree, the superintendent of Greenburgh Central School District, and we had a great conversation about education, hip-hop pedagogy, how we should relate to our young people. Both of them shared their experiences as women in leadership positions, and Dr. Chase talked about how she leads on the superintendent level and how she has been able to reach young people and professionally develop a staff around issues in education. Check this out.
I am out of my league today. I am out of my league because I have legends in the building today. I have people whom I truly respect, and for different reasons. And so we're going to show a little video clip of each one of these legends. And live in studio today, first I want to say we have the legendary Roxanne Shante. I don't need to say anything else. The legendary Roxanne Shante. And we also have an award-winning superintendent, Dr. Tahira A. Dupree Chase. And we're going to show a little video clip of both of them, and then we're going to have a discussion with them about how they view issues in urban education and what is their personal solution to addressing them. So let's go to that video clip.
And it happens to be the type of voice, I guess, that really grows on to people. So if I had to say what my major contribution, it would be my voice. I mean, I like it.
Dance, get up and get with this. Shante is here to take care of business. So plug up the mic and stack the dough. Then yo, go start the show so the pro can flow. No time to sit around here.
You now have a film that's made about you. So how do you feel about your representation in the film and just having the film made at all?
Well, I'm absolutely flattered. So since you say that that is the highest form of flattery, it gets no higher than this. They did a great.
Dr. Tahira Dupree Chase.
Dr. Tahira Dupree Chase.
First and foremost, I give honor and praise to God for allowing the work that I do for children to be recognized. See, as educators, we don't look for recognition for our work, we just do the work.
I've been an educator for 23 years. For the past 3 years, I've served as superintendent of schools for the Greenburgh Central School District. You know, in our school district, we call ourselves world class because we believe that if we say it, if we act it, we will become that.
I never desired to be a leader. For some reason, leaders are divinely placed in their positions. And I pray that God will continue to give me the capacity to represent those who are underrepresented and those who are underserved. That is the population that has been assigned to me. And that is the population that I honor and I love and I enjoy working with.
So I went to a school, instead of going to PS 111, I wound up going to a school called PS 11, which was located in Woodside, Queens. And the area was, at that time, predominantly Irish, Irish and Italian. So in all of my pictures from school, which I should have brought some in with me, but there's some like on Facebook and Instagram and things like that, I was the only black child in all of my classes. So
how was that?
It was spooky, it was scary, it was hard to deal with. And, you know, my mom had this whole idea about, you know, listen, you know, I would come home with literally like being 6 years old, I would come home with certain like horror stories, because to me they were horror stories. Like, Mom, nobody wants to play with me. When I go out into the schoolyard, because this is when it was still mandatory to go out in the schoolyard. This is when you had no choice. Like now, kids have choices, kids get doctor's notes, Parents are scared of being, the kids getting hurt. Schools are scared of being sued, so nobody goes out and play. I remember when you had to put your coat on, if it was 0 degrees, we had to sit out there like as if you were in Shawshank. We'd be out there like this in the yard. Literally, that's how it was. And I was like, nah, they don't want to play with me. And you know, she was like, listen, you ain't got to play with them. When you grow up in life, you ain't going to be playing with them. So this is what you got to do. This is what you got to deal with them. And I'm like, okay. So I became like token Lolita, because originally my name is Lolita. So I went into school already being able to read and write, which was a bonus, because when I came into school, my penmanship in the first grade was that of a third grader.
So
my vocabulary of in the first grade was that of a sixth grader.
That was from home training.
And that was from home, because my mom had, what she did was, we had this big, heavy typewriter that it took my mom and my neighbor, Miss Greta, to actually carry the typewriter and put it up on the dresser, and you could not move it. And my mom, instead of getting ribbons, because the ribbons were very expensive, my mom had got us some thing called, I don't know if people notice, I'm getting ready to give away my age, but it's called sole dressing. Sole dressing is like a black dye that you would use for the soles of your shoes, but it came with a little sponge and it was inside of an ink bottle. And we would use the sole dressing to actually wipe onto the ribbon to keep the dye going. So this way we'd have ink and do it that way. So I came in already knowing ASD, FJKL, semicolon, already knowing how to type.
I remember that.
Yes.
I remember
Exactly.
that.
It's funky.
Yes.
Exactly. So you know,
So how do you deal with that as a person who trains principals, trains teachers, and works with young people? How do you address things of this nature?
So first and foremost, thank you for having me on the show.
Yes.
And thank you for having me as a co-guest to someone I followed as a youngin in the Bronx back in the day with Roxanne. So I really appreciate just being here. So it is truly an honor. And thank you for just honoring us, because we're honored just to be with you. You've done some phenomenal things. So, you know, let's share that wealth a little bit. And also the brother who's a DJ, you know, who has a doctorate degree. You know, young people need to see examples of this. You're right, bullying has become a very popular word in our schools today, especially in our public schools. To some degree, bullying is misused. To some degree, it is used properly. And people being able to distinguish bullying versus teasing. Because, you know, when we went to school, there was a lot of teasing.
Yes.
Nowadays, teasing has transformed into bullying. You know, we're governed in public schools by DASA laws. So when bullying does occur.
Can you just
sure.
say what that means?
So when bullying, it's Dignity for All Act. And so when bullying does occur, there are protocols and procedures by which school districts have to take. We have to investigate it. So when a student comes to you and they make a bullying claim, I can't close my ears. I can't tell you to sit down and shut up and go in the corner. We can't do that. Legally, I cannot do that, because I can be held accountable for that. Teachers can be held accountable. So we have to investigate those claims, and we have to see if those claims are accurate. And if they are, then there are repercussions for the person who is being bullied. What we've done in our school district in terms of helping with some of those issues is that we've hired an additional social worker, we have additional psychologists, because it does exist. Kids do feel bullied. Kids do face those experiences. Bullying is also exacerbated by the home life of a lot of our kids. So you gave the example earlier to the DJ about the young man who stabbed the other young man at the school, and my condolences goes to all the families. That young man's issues were far deeper than that school, and you better believe it. Somebody wasn't listening to him a long time ago. And you're right, he imploded. And we are, you know, responsible for not just educating children, but we're also responsible for the social and the emotional well-being of children. So schools are a little bit different. When we were in school, you know, the social emotional piece, that was up to your families and your parents, right? So schools have now become true partners in raising children, and we have to now pay attention, a lot more attention, to the social emotional, and to most instances, you can't educate a child until you address the social emotional aspect.
In episode 4, we met Dr. Renee Young of the Adelaide Sanford Institute. Dr. Renee Young has a phenomenal parent engagement program where she meets with parents once a month to talk about issues in education and how it impacts children of color and what should be parent of color response to policies that adversely affect our young people. She gave us a wealth of information about parent rights, a wealth of information about strategic parent partnership and parent engagement. Check out this interview with Dr. Renee Young.
The Parent Leadership Institute, a parent education and empowerment program sponsored by Hofstra University, Stony Brook University. It's located in 10 school districts in Long Island. In addition, she serves as a coach in Columbia University's Aspiring Principal Academy. Currently, she conducts a monthly Parent Institute at Boys and Girls High School for parents residing in Central Brooklyn. It is sponsored by the Adelaide L. Sanford Institute. We'd like to welcome you to the Classroom Hip Hop 101. How are you?
I'm doing quite well.
Well, listen, first of all, let me just start off by saying this. I had an opportunity to attend one of your meetings. And when I went there, I was so encouraged by what I saw. And a lot of times on this show, we talk about narratives, right? And a narrative that's been created that I think is a false one is that Black and Latino people are not concerned about the education of their children. And as a former principal, we both can relate to this. How many times have we heard our colleagues say, "Oh, I invite parents, and they just don't come." These parents are just they rather do this and they rather do that. And I went to your program to do a presentation. I reached out to you through a mutual friend, Perry Williams. Shout out Perry Williams, my brother.
Yes.
And I walk in, and first of all, it was a cold Saturday a couple of weeks ago. I walk into the room, and the place is packed. The conversation was rich. So what do you say to those who say parents, you can't get parents involved?
Well, before I answer that, I would like to thank you for that morning, Dr. Blake. You gave a powerful presentation.
Thank you.
And the evaluations support what I am saying. The parents just gave you the highest ratings. They want you to come back. They were so inspired and informed by what you told them about how we have to control our children's education. So I want to say first, yes.
It was my honor.
Thank you.
And I'll come back anytime you call. I'm there.
Yes.
Yes.
Now the statement that our parents are not interested in their children's education is a myth.
Mm-hmm.
Because when we are real with parents, when we respect parents, when we develop relationships with parents, and when we focus on what is relevant to them, they will come out. So believe me, when principals or other administrators say parents won't come out, they really are not working to get them out. They're just doing the same things they have done years upon years, not looking at their behavior,
Yes.
not looking at what they could change to engage parents. So I would definitely say that is not true.
In episode 5, we covered a topic that has been something that we've been covering all year, and that is school safety, school violence, and random scanning and searches and metal detectors in urban school environments. So we decided to speak to students directly who are impacted by these policies, who are fearful of going to school because of the violence that's taking place in school, and who have alternative approaches to solving safety issues that do not involve random scanning and metal detectors. Check out what these students have to say. I'd like to welcome both Daryl and Rosemary. We thank you for joining us on the Classroom Hip Hop 101.
Yes, sir.
And let's get right into it. So Daryl, we'll start with you. Tell us your story of what you went through with bullying, and then we're going to take it from there to have a conversation about how you've used that now to help students who struggle with similar issues.
Well, for me, coming up in high school, transferring from a middle school where, I had a group of friends that we were really close, basically like my brothers now, and transferring into a high school where you start fresh with, you know, over 1,000 kids. It was rough for me, you know, ninth grade, you know, trying to fit in with you see different groups, different classes of people. You see the kids that are going to class. You see the kids that are, you know, the so-called thug kids, and, you know, just trying to figure out where you fit in. So, you know, ninth grade was about finding myself, figuring out who I was as a person. And for a 14-year-old young man living in Harlem, you go through a lot. You see different groups of people, different classes of people, and you're trying to figure out where you fit in. So my experience going through ninth grade in high school was rough due to the fact that, you know, I know you read the definition of bullying, and I find it, you know, a little weird that they have a definition for bullying, but you can't go around asking a million people what their definition of bullying is. Everyone has a different, you know, definition to themselves of what bullying is. And I know for me, you know, high school, you know, you see the movies, you see things that are on certain channels, and you say, oh, this is what high school is supposed to be. I want my high school experience to be this. And when it's not, it's a little discouraging. So for me, you know, ninth grade, you know, going into the lunchroom and, you know, trying to fit in, figuring out which crew and which clique you want to sit with, and, you know, what you want to do. And going through that experience was rough due to the fact that, you know, people would, you know, make things up. People would even indirectly bully you, and they don't even know. I'm just spreading rumors around the classroom.
Can you give me an
rumors.
example of something that like you personally experienced in reference to this?
Well, for me, personal experiences was, you know, in high school, you're a young man, you like young ladies, you're trying to, you know, you want to talk, you want to flirt, you want to do everything you want to do. But to other people, you're not hanging out with as much guys. So the rumors get spread of, you know, why is he hanging out with a bunch of girls? Why, I mean, I like women. I'm going to hang out with girls. I'm exploring. I'm 14, trying to figure out where I fit in, you know. And just for me, you know, coming into the lunchroom, and I remember just hearing things about myself, and I'm like, that's not true. You know, and this is every day.
During our series, we launched a Courageous Conversation series called the Courageous Conversation series with Dr. Blake. Our first guest was hip-hop artist My Son. He talks about coming of age. He talks about his relationship with his teachers in schools. He talks about the trials and tribulations in terms of what he faced in terms of social and emotional trauma. This is a must-watch for any educator trying to reach challenging students in urban school environments. Check this out.
So he had a different approach and a different perspective of who you were.
Yes.
But I'm just interested, when you had this negative clash and you were referred to being evaluated or what have you, did this perception of you carry throughout other teachers in the building?
Of course, because when I got to his class, he had already heard that. So, you know, he immediately wanted to stop that negativity. I was on a track team. I was on a basketball. In third grade, I was the fastest kid in the school, had probably the highest grades, but in their minds, I was a behavioral problem. So, you know, he immediately attached that because this was already floating around. And he explained to me, he said, you know what these teachers do because they don't want to deal with you? They'll tell somebody that you're crazy and you have a behavioral problem, and that'll carry on throughout your grades, throughout your records, and it affects you. And you don't know that, but they don't have the time and they don't care about you. So only thing they do is set you up for negativity, and you don't understand that. So when you give them that energy and you fight back because you think you're being wronged and you are, they're utilizing against you.
I want to go back for a moment, right? So third grade, so you're around what, 8, 9?
Probably 8 or 9, yeah.
Okay. So let's fast forward, because at 11, something major happens in your life. You lose your father.
Yes.
And I wanted to know, what impact did losing your father have on how you approached your schooling? And I guess what I'm saying is, did it impact your studies? Did it impact how you were as a student? And were there any kind of signs of that when you were in school?
Well, I was dealing with so many different elements in my home just throughout my whole school.
Okay.
You know, my father was an alcoholic, and him and my mother used to fight just about every night. So it was nights I didn't even go to sleep. It was nights we had to run and we had to call the police, and then I still would go to school. So I was dealing with trauma from those situations. And then by the time my father had died of a drug overdose, my mother was addicted to drugs. So me and my little sister, she was a year younger than me, and so I always had to play a role of being a man. So nobody pretty much ever, with the exception of my first fourth grade teacher, and then one of my gym teacher, who took the time to try to like understand what it was that was going on with me. And I was always a shelled person. I never wanted, talk my business because I was taught that you just don't talk about what's going on in your home. So it took a lot for me to have those conversations with people, so my whole schooling, I was dealing with those things. And and what we don't know about the children that go to school is a lot of us are dealing with elements in our home that you don't know about.
Our Courageous Conversation Series Part 2, we had an educational screening of the Roxanne Shante biopic that is on Netflix. We watched the movie, we had panel discussions with guests who talked about social and emotional trauma, and we were treated with a keynote speech from Roxanne Shante, who details her life and how social emotional trauma played into her decision making as an adult. Check this out.
I'm actually speechless. Like I'm standing here right now and I am totally speechless. How did you like the movie? To me, my traumatic experience, where mine all started from, was the fact of not having my father in my life. And this movie, when fathers come up to me and tell me they watched my movie with their daughters, I literally want to cry. Because it wasn't just a sister movie. It wasn't just a Netflix and chill movie. This was a movie for men to be able to see what is happening to our young women when you're not looking, when you're not paying attention. When man comes along and does pay attention. The things that he offers her, the things that he gives her, the things that he will provide for her, and she's so afraid to let those things go. And even when I was making money, so I could provide those things for myself. But it was the fact of not wanting to let him go.